We're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Darion Talks UTSA. So UTSA captures a victory against HCU 45-7 yesterday. HCU is a FCS side. I think it was a well-timed game, well-positioned game, and I think we needed to sort of inject some momentum into the season because we haven't seen great play for the first 3 weeks. So I think it was good for us as fans to see the team come out and do a good job. But obviously, and most importantly, I think it's a confidence building game for UTSA. I want to look through a couple of things. I know this time is a little wonky, so I don't expect to be a large crowd today. So I don't know if I'm going to go super long, but we'll see what type of interaction we get here in the chat. But I'll start off with sort of my overall thoughts on the game. So number one, I think, like I said before, confidence is what is the most important thing sometimes. I think we can draw up X's and O's and things like that, but kids and just athletes and players need to be confident on the field to be able to go out there and express themselves. And I think one of the things that a game like this does is give us an opportunity to go out there and express ourselves, get a lot of guys in and sort of rotate because it's sort of our last dress rehearsal before now we have conference play start next week, and it's going to be very, very important um to go into that game with some confidence and with some momentum. We hadn't been able to establish momentum at all this season. We didn't, you know, Kennesaw State wasn't a momentum game. We were disappointed against Kennesaw State, and some of that probably bled into the Texas State game where we got bludgeoned, and then some of that probably led into the UT game where it wasn't good. So I like to see the players smiling. I like to see the players looking excited and things like that because we haven't seen a lot of that this year. And the game is supposed to be fun for them, and it hadn't looked fun. So I think that is something to take note of. And yeah, it's something to be happy about. Or, look. I think here's the reality of it as well. And I wanna go on all the good stuff first because I do think there are some fair things to point out before I start getting into some of the questions and the comments. Here's a couple of the good things that I did see. I do think, and before I get into some of this, I got to preface my comments by saying I understand this is an FCS team, and you got to take some of the performance with a grain of salt because we're playing a team on a lower level than anybody we're going to play here coming up. And whenever we've seen teams that have been on our level or even above our level, we have not shown up to play at all. Besides that quarter and a half against Kennesaw State, right? Um, but so like I said, I understand that it's an FCS squad, but I think our offensive line, from a running standpoint, is starting to turn over a new leaf. I said this after the game against UT. We started to actually open up, running lanes and rushing lanes against UT. I mean, the long touchdown that we had was Robert Henry on a 56-yarder that was well executed and blocked very well against a very, very, very good front seven that was a lot better than what we have, right? So, I think they started to run block better against them. And to be honest, I don't think they ran block very well earlier in the game, but as the game went on, you can tell we started leaning on them, and our backs just did really, really good with some of that space. I mean, when you look at the top three rushers, we had Kavorian Barnes, 12 carries, 64 yards, and a touchdown. It's 5.3 yards a carry, which is obviously way up from his 2.5 yard a carry average coming into that game. Bryson Donnell, it was good to see him come out there and get some burn. He was Texas Tech transfer out of Tyler, Texas. He had 12 carries for 74 yards, and then you had Brandon High, which it was really, really nice to see him get going. Freshman, I might add. He had a really big day, 9 carries on 74 yards and a touchdown. He was the leading back. He had a touchdown. He was averaging 8.2 yards a carry. He had that one for 28 yards. That was nice as well. So I like to see our running backs get some space, get some room, and we got an opportunity to get to show a lot of the guys. I think it was 5 different backs who touched the ball. Um, I did notice that Will Henderson did not play. I'm curious to know what was going on there. I think maybe it was an injury or something, but he was inactive. So he was someone that I was looking forward to seeing against a team like this. But that's unfortunate. But we got to see the other guys, and what it just shows you is that that room is deep. I mean, Rocco Griffin only got 1 carry, which was interesting to me. Robert Henry only got 6, which was also sort of interesting to me. But the Rocco with only 1 carry, I don't understand. But anyway, I thought that was pretty good. From a running game standpoint, I thought in the passing game, I thought our offensive line could have blocked a little better. Because if you noticed, Owen was having to scramble outside the pocket quite a bit now. Because some folks were leaking through on the edges here and there. I believe on the right side, if I'm not mistaken. So that's something obviously that will need to get cleaned up. Um, I think one of the other bright spots too is I just thought it was good to see a lot of our receivers, a lot of our ball catchers get time and just get out there and show what they can do. Jace Wilson had 3 catches. Oscar Cardenas. It's weird with Oscar because he had his 3 catches quite early in the game. I think he had like 4 or 5 targets early in the game in the first half, and then not really utilized much after that, but he had 3 catches on 21 yards, and it was all sort of in succession, right? And they were also looking for him down the seam as well. So that was interesting. It seemed like they made it a point to get Oscar some of those balls instead of throwing them to Houston Thomas and Patrick Overmeyer, to just kind of get him involved. I think him being a leader to the team, you got to get him involved early. So I did kind of like seeing that because he's a voice on that team. I think Jamel Hardy's touchdown was beautiful, great catch. We need guys to be able to win one-on-ones like that. And it was cool to see him do that as well. Let's see who else stood out. Obviously, Devin McEwen is somebody that we're going to lean on, and I think he did pretty well also. So I think seeing our running backs and receivers be able to get out there, express themselves, celebrate, be happy, be excited about getting the ball and being able to make plays is huge in my opinion. So I think that's good. I would say another good thing that I just seen on defense. So defense was a little weird because they did move the ball on us quite a bit, especially early. They just didn't have a kicker to put up real points on the board. I think defensively, I think we knew very early on that like we're just better than them, and I think defensively we were smacking guys out there. Owen Pee Wee is probably my favorite player right now on the team. Um, he just makes plays, man. He's that dude's a playmaker. That dude's a playmaker. So he was obviously standing out. Jamori Robinson really got going early in the game. That first half was crazy. You think he had seven tackles and a sack in the first half or something like that. And a tackle for loss, I believe. So huge for him. I thought Elliot Davison had a pretty good game. Obviously, I mentioned Owen Pee Wee. I like to see some of the freshmen. Elijah Newell got in. He had a good PBU. He did well in coverage a couple of times, which is something I was worried about because remember I did sort of a video in the summer whenever he signed or after he signed, and I said the question I believe or somebody posed a question of like what freshman do I think that we could possibly see get some time, and one of those guys for me was Elijah Newell because if you look at his high school tape, the way that his style of safety aligns a lot of what Rashad Wisdom did for UTSA. So I thought he would be a guy to that might get some time and might get an opportunity to play. And I think he did pretty good. He wasn't scared of the moment. I think he came in and had some good run fits and some good tackles, and he was solid in coverage. So that was nice as well. So we had a lot of our usual suspects show themselves. Jon Jones was really good. He had a really good day. He was someone who stuck out. So yeah, like I think that we did quite a few things well. But And that's good. I'm just glad that we're gonna have some confidence and momentum going into the game. A couple things that I will say that alarm me a little bit. I'm just gonna be honest, and I'm sure there's questions about it here. So I'm not gonna go deep until I get to one of the questions. But I didn't mention our quarterback for a reason. Statistically, really good day. I don't think he wasn't bad at all. But he was late on almost every throw. If you go back and watch the tape, like just because we complete a pass does not mean that it was a like for example, I know whenever Coach Traylor goes back and look at some, especially early on in the game, and look at some of these plays, some of these passes. I don't know what's going on there, but he has to see the guy like open. We're not anticipating anybody being open. It's like the guy has to be open for a second before he throws it. That's going to come back to hunt us. We that like I think somebody on Twitter talked about it, but I was like, hey, he was very late on that pass to McEwen in the end zone. And someone on Twitter was like, well, the guy has to come back and attack the ball. I'm like, yeah, if we're running it out route, that's not like a come back and attack the ball because our momentum is carrying us out. It's carrying that receiver out. If the ball is behind him because it's late, there's nothing that receiver is going to be able to do. If that DB that was covering him, because McEwen beat the DB, if that DB that was covering him would have looked back for the ball, it would have been an easy interception. But the DB was beat, so his eyes was on McEwen and was just basically going to tackle him, and the ball hit that guy before McEwen can get a hand on it. So he was late on throws, and that worries me because you can't be late on throws on this level. You can't see, oh, this guy is open, like on a timing route, right? Like when you throw an out route, it's about timing, right? You have to get that ball out and you basically, especially if he's going at the pylon, that ball has to be at the pylon as he's coming out his break. Like the receiver's going up and coming out of his break, that ball has to be out and outside, not where this guy, you know what I'm saying? They got to be on time. So that was very worrisome. Obviously, offensive line and the pass blocking, I'm a little worried about. Even though I do think they're getting a little better, I'm just a little worried about that. That was something I'm very, very worried about. Defensively, our cornerbacks got to show up. Now, don't get me wrong, because I said this, they got that AJ Wilson on their side, that receiver. Yeah, we need to be recruiting that guy to come over to UTSA because some of the catches he was making was crazy. But yeah, our corners, I just want to see him like go snatch the ball out the air, bro. You know, like that's kind of what I want to see, man. I want to see our corners be a lot more aggressive. They're getting opportunities. They're going at all of them whenever they get an opportunity. I thought a little bit too much. You know, we were on the bad end of some of those one-on-ones, and I think our corners just, we got to be a little better. Penalties was also a problem. Penalties, we got to do better with the penalties. 8 for 85 yards. Not good enough. Not good enough. Very undisciplined on defense. I don't know how many face mask penalties and all types of stuff we were getting. Just not great. Got to do better there. And then special teams, I thought we did some things good. I thought we did better special teams. I thought the kicking and the punting and stuff was better this game. But we had the one where they got kind of loose on us on the kick return. We got to do better there. But yeah, for sure. Let's see. Yes, make sure you guys smash that like button. I see my man Danny is in there reminding folks. Yeah, smash that like button. Thank you for keeping me honest and doing it a little bit earlier this time. But okay, I'll start going through some of your questions. I just want to give you guys my thoughts in general in the beginning. Mike says, I like that we took shots downfield on offense. The O-line still looks a little suspect, though. Defense continues to be solid. Running backs look to have settled on a two-man rotation, which is better. So we did take some shots downfield, but we should take more. We should take more. We took some shots, but we should take more. We're still not taking enough shots downfield. Not enough, in my opinion. Not enough that's going to make somebody, worry about it. Like and like the shots got to be threatening too, or it has to. Like what you put on film is so important in this game because your upcoming team, your upcoming opponent, all they're going to do is watch what you did the weeks prior, and they're going to formulate a game plan around what you've put on tape. We haven't put anything on tape that would suggest, and then that could help us out for conference, but we hadn't put anything on tape to suggest that they need to have a safety over the top of Willie McCoy, or they need to have a safety over the top of JJ Sparkman or Devin McEwen or something like that. I mean, maybe McEwen, but even some of his, like, he's been a high volume catcher, but like, he hasn't had a ton of yardage, right? In doing it, he had 5 catches, which was the most on the team, but only 43 yards in doing that. So he's more your underneath guy. They're not using him for some of that stuff. So we'll throw the ball up in the red zone, but we're not taking shots downfield enough to make a team really, really worry about it. Yeah, we did it against an FCS school, but that's not going to make ECU game plan any differently, right? So um, hopefully we do that a little bit more. Yes, the O-line is still a little suspect. They haven't quite put it together, but at least we're starting to see them do better and better, a little bit as we go. And we'll see. We'll see what it looks like. Um, you say they set it on a 2-man rotation at running back. Who's the two? Because yeah, I feel like they spread it around quite a bit. Like, obviously Robert Henry's the guy, but I don't know. I can't even just say that. He had 6 carries yesterday. Kavorian had 12. Bryson Donnell had 12. Brent High had 9. I still think that running back, there's going to be a lot of rotation in that room. We'll see. Mike also says Memphis losing the Navy is big. ECU's star cornerback is out with an ACL injury. That's unfortunate. I like to play big time players. So, and I like to see how we fare against those players. So it's unfortunate that he's not playing. He was a projected first round pick. The runners might be catching a break this week. They might be. And you could be playing a team we could be catching them at a really good time. I mean, they just came off of a loss. Wait, no, did ECU come off a loss? Let me see. Yeah, they came off a loss. So yeah, we could be catching them at the right time. They're 2-2, just like we are. I'm not going to get too much into them because I have a preview show that's going to be a little different because I'm traveling to. I'll be in California for work this next week. So I'm still trying to sort out the logistics of what content I'm going to produce. I'm going to try to keep next week's show live to the extent that I can, but I got to see what I can fit in a carry-on. So bear with me next week. It might just be using my laptop camera, and then I do have like a wireless mic I can use when I get out there, but we'll figure that out. But I'll go into East Carolina a little bit more then. Yeah, I saw ECU lost, but we're winning in the beginning, even with the game being delayed. I'll get into that next week. Fast food toy box says I'm not sold on Owen still. Yeah, I'm not either, and I'm gonna start speaking a little bit more plainly about my thoughts on some of this stuff. To be honest, but in general, I don't think he's. I don't. We. I don't think he's very good. To be honest, I'm just gonna say it plainly. I don't think we have very good We don't. The 2 quarterbacks that we have are not anything that's giving me confidence that we can go win conference. I hope that they prove me wrong. But whenever I see, whenever I just look at what our quarterback did yesterday, not the stats, I'm just saying, like, I'm just looking at the play. The amount of late passes that I've seen, I'm just like, dude, that's not something that's going to be repaired on a week-to-week basis. That's a developmental thing that you just got to get with time and with practice and faith in the system and knowing the system and having an expectation of what your receiver or ball catcher is going to do for you, right? It didn't leave me a lot of I don't just being honest, I'm not sold either. And to me, I'm just like, okay, if we can get good performances from our offensive line, I think that's the best situation because our running game has to be our bread and butter. It just does. It just does. It has to be. It has to be. Like, that's the position where I think we can be elite. And that can sort of, and we talked about this coming into, we knew that the running back position was going to be super important this year because we have a inexperienced quarterback that's trying to navigate their way through the space. Um, but yeah, I think you know I hope he gets better as the games go on. I mean, statistically, he doesn't look bad. I mean, he hasn't threw any interceptions this year. Well, none that actually stood. So yeah, no interceptions, and he's been relatively safe. He's been pretty safe with the ball, but I'm not seeing downfield conviction at all. I do think he got out the pocket and made some decent throws. He's done that, a little bit, in these first non-conference games. But in terms of somebody, and listen, the bar is not Frank Harris. Like that's not where the bar is. Like we probably won't see another Frank Harris here for years. Um, but just my objective assessment, and just compared to the competition, and compared to what I'm seeing from other quarterbacks, yeah, we're average at best at that position, unfortunately. And that's the one and two guys that I've seen. That's how I see. That's how I see it personally. And that doesn't mean we're going to be a bad team or anything like that. It just means that the coaches are going to have to play call with that in mind, and we're going to have to build a team and build success with that in mind. I think they know that, which is why I think the play calling is a little bit more limited. Um, just a little bit more limited. Josh says, I think ELM more than I like Italy Marburger more than I like OM yesterday, by the way. I thought play calling was less weird, but I wonder if the talent differential assisted in that regard. I so here's the thing about Eddie Lee is like I think he has some attributes that are clearly better than Owens, but I can't like for whatever reason the interception bug just finds him. And that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate for him and his situation. If that's happening in games, it's probably happening in practice too. So um yeah, I think we're just not great at that position. That's just what it comes down to. We're not great at that position right now. And at least with the two guys we've seen, we're just not great there. I enjoy watching the players have. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I that that's I enjoy watching that too. Watching them celebrate, watching them, be happy about what they're putting out, in the game and those sorts of things. That stuff is all important, man. It's all important. Shout out to Danny. Just wanted to give some quick love to the members here. Carol says Coach Traylor said that the runners have a face mask disease. Yeah, they got to stop grabbing a face mask. It's not a disease. You got to stop grabbing a face mask. You put a hat on somebody, you don't have to reach and grab. That's what it is. You put a hat on somebody, you don't got to reach and grab. That's what the pads are for. ELM is a guarantee, and that's what I'm saying. Just not it. Listen, I don't think. Yeah, yeah, I don't disagree. And I like his assortment of tools better than I like McCown's assortment of tools. But he finds a way to throw an interception every game. That is something I cannot deny. That is a fact. And some of them are unfortunate, maybe not be his fault. Like this one that wasn't necessarily his fault, but I mean the DB just made an excellent play. But some people just have that INT bug, man. It just finds it. Good morning, good win. Yeah, good morning, good win. It's a win that we needed. And it's we needed to get some confidence. We need our players to be confident going in the conference. That's just something that's super important. Anthony says it was nice to see our deep ball yesterday. I hope we can continue to do more of that in the games ahead. Yeah, yeah. I just want to see it more so I can believe it. Like us playing the FCS team, like I said, it's hard for me. I take it all with a grain of salt, and I know some people don't like that. And I think some guy yesterday on Twitter was telling me to was I guess he was telling me how to fan, telling me to not what do you say? Just enjoy the win or something like that. It's like, well, I want to win the big stuff. So I look the game. I look at the game through that lens, and I've played quite a bit of football in my life. So I also look at the game for a little bit of a different lens as well. And yeah, it's I hope we see the deep ball more. I hope we see the deep ball more against against the teams that are on our level, and I hope we're successful with the deep ball against teams that are on our level. That's the reason why I'm saying that. Like, it was good to see it yesterday. It was good to see us take some shots downfield, but this was sort of a dress rehearsal to get us ready for conference. And I think it was well timed. It was well positioned, and I'm glad we had that. But you look at those games and you try to figure out what's transferable from this game against this FCS school versus, what's going to transfer to conference play. Um, I hope that transfers to conference play, but I don't know if it will. I don't know if it will. Speaking of that, I do think some of what our offensive line is doing from a run game standpoint, I think that will transfer because we seen it against UT, right? So I think that will transfer offensively, and that's what I'm really really hoping does transfer into conference play. Fast food toy box says I want to see that transfer QB Davis getting some playing time. I don't think he's going to get any playing time because he's not on the depth chart as the third guy. And why not redshirt him? And chances are we're not going to be able to afford a quarterback in the portal anyway. So, give him some time to develop in that system, understand that system, learn that system, and then you roll the balls out at the end of the year and have another quarterback battle. That's what's going to happen probably. Brandon says good win, but didn't learn much from the game against an FCS team. That's exactly the point I was just making. Exactly the point I was just making. Some folks aren't going to like that position, but it's the truth. Let's see. Shor Production says, when will we see DeMont Davis in the game? I don't think we will. I would like to see our third. I would like to see our third guy. I wouldn't mind seeing Brandon Henderson get a shot. Why not at this point? But Demetrius Davis, I don't think it makes sense to bring him. I don't think it makes sense right now. I don't. He came in. He doesn't know. It takes a long time for a quarterback to come in and absorb. And some guys can do it, but like, you just don't want to put him in that situation right now to come in and be the savior or whatever. You just don't want to do that. Like, you got the guy, you got him, invest your time in him, and give him a shot to earn a spot next season. That's what I would do. We're already 4 seasons in. I said 4 seasons, 4 games in. Why bring him in and waste his shirt? Anthony says Oscar appeared to have some early catches in the game. I do believe we get him rolling again. Things open up for offense. Yeah, listen, he did have some early catches that was good, and I think it's good to get him those early touches because he's a voice on that team, and you want to see a voice on that team and a leader on that team produce. So I think for that, it's fine. But I'll say this again: we utilize our tight ends. It might not be Oscar, but we utilize our tight ends quite a bit. We've done that all year. So, like, in terms of that solely opening up our offense, I don't think so. Because I mean, whether he's in the game or not, or he's the tight end that's catching the ball, we've used the tight ends. Josh said conspiracy theory. Burke was the tight ends coach, and Oscar is the only one he didn't personally recruit. What if it's intentionally digging him for the guys he recruited? I don't think so, but I don't think he's going to be mindful and say, hey, I want to play these guys and I'm going to tell McCown to throw these guys the ball over him. That's not going to happen. But if Burke recruited guys that are the type of profiles that he wants, right? And maybe Oscar isn't that. But it would probably explain the volume that goes to those guys or the time that they get in general. But I don't think that I don't know. And a lot of these plays that they get the ball, like a lot of stuff isn't necessarily just drawn up for them. They just happen to be open or the read might be there. and they hit him, but we have those opportunities to hit him, which is important as well. I'm going to have to wrap here pretty soon. Not going to do the full one today, full hour today, because I'm a little late at getting started, but we'll try to get through the most relevant questions. By the way, only being half serious, just don't believe in Burke and looking for any excuse not to like him. Shout out to Josh. The lack of carries for Rocco is weird, but hopefully the lack of touches for Henry is just due to the score, and Henderson is hopefully saving the red shirt. Yeah, the lack of carries for Rocco was definitely weird. The lack of touches for Henry was probably due to the score, if I had to guess. And the Henderson one, I'm not so sure on yet. Okay. Trying to save the red shirt. Makes sense. There we go. Makes sense. Anthony says, with the media reports talks of Pac-12 and ACC this week, do you think the move gets made official by next game, or is it something that gets pushed out into the season? I probably do think the Pac-12 offers and stuff will come out the next game. But I don't know. I don't know what their timing is and all that type of stuff. I know the Pac-12 probably wants to get something done pretty quick. But I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. I don't think it'll get pushed out to the end of the season, though. I don't think that'll happen. I think it'll be done in the next couple weeks. Texas Maximus says, I see what Darion says. See what Darion says. He stares down his receivers. Yeah, dude, he does bad. Like, he's late. He stares them down. It's just things that, like, listen, I'm gonna just give you out, like, as a corner, there's a couple things that we're gonna look at whenever we break down film, right? And this is peeling back the curtain completely. So whenever we play, we would get film cut-ups of all sorts of keys, right? So, like, for example, if I knew I was playing on the boundary or field side, I would get all of those players on that side and all of the receivers on that side. I get this huge binder. Every time they get in this position, and every time they get in this position, or the receiver lines up outside of the hash, inside of the hash, they run this route, that route, this route, that route. And then you start to watch body language, right? Oh, okay, well, when this receiver is starting to break in, his hips go real high. If he's going to break out, his hips go high. If he, so you get all these keys, right? I'm just talking about from a corner's perspective when you're on your receiver. But the next phase is you looking at the quarterback. What keys can I get from the quarterback that he's going to be coming my way, right? Because you're going to watch this film over and over and over again. Well, one of my main keys was, because whenever in my technique, if I'm in man, right, and I played off man, I like to play off man a lot. But in off man, I would like especially the last couple years when Coach Pop was our corners coach. So if the receiver is right here, right in front of me, I'm looking at you guys directly. The quarterback might be this way, inside, at an angle, right? My eyes before the play or at the snap of the ball is going to be at the quarterback, because I want to see when the quarterback catches the ball, where does his eyes go? Where does his eyes go? Does his eyes snap at me? Okay, if they snap at me, that means, oh, something might be coming hot in my direction. So if something is coming hot, which means coming quick, that takes away all of the deep, especially if I'm playing off, that takes away all the deep routes. So I should be expecting slant, quick out, hitch, something like that. So anyway, if I got a quarterback like Owen McCown, I know for a fact, oh, if he's coming my way, he's gonna look at me. He's gonna look over at our side the whole time. Period. And depending on how fast he does and where his shoulder position is, if he starts to look like this and his back shoulder is down, the ball might be going deep. If he's snapped up, it's probably going to be a quicker ball. These are things that corners, I know for a fact, these coaches are keying on. At FCS school, they may not be able to, pick up on that. I guarantee you the schools that we're going to play in our conference are, because we were back in the day. I could show you highlights of my stuff or highlights of other stuff where, oh, like there's a particular play. I had a PBU against Louisiana Tech. This is 2014. And it's funny because I remember like coming back to watch film with the rest of the corners and the coach. I didn't backpedal at all. It was a third and like 6. And I knew like, hey, well, they're gonna line up the outside receiver off the ball. Quarterback's gonna look immediately to throw the ball. Soon as he snapped the ball, he caught the ball and snapped right at me. I didn't take a backpedal at all. I just drove down because I knew it was coming. I'm telling you right now, you're gonna start seeing stuff like that happen to us if we don't fix that situation. And I don't know if it's gonna be able to be fixed. Just to be completely honest. Not this late. Not this late. It worries me. It worries me because I know the film study that we did, and I know other teams are doing it as well. And when you put stuff like that on film, I'm telling you, it's going to show itself at some point, which is why I'm hoping that like our running game gets going. So they may have to press us more or stuff like that. Like whenever we're getting pressed, I think that's actually better. But like we're gonna start seeing some teams play us off a little bit, and they're gonna be a little bit more aggressive on some of the things that we're doing. I don't know. I just worry about it. Be strong. He says it's a time issue for the late throw. It's exactly what I'm saying. It's timing. It's 100% timing. You cannot be late. That's what I'm saying. That ball that he threw to McEwen on that third down in the end zone that was broken up by that defender. If we were playing East Carolina, that is an interception and a 90-something yard touchdown. 100%. He was way too late. Way too late. Can't happen. Can't happen. And the problem is we came back a drive or two later because I was looking for it at that point. We came back a drive or two later. We threw a flood route to the tight end or somebody on the left side. And we completed the pass, but he stared him down the whole time. And like, it was not timing at all. He didn't even have an outside threat. They were in zone. They ran he was a slot receiver. Our outside receiver ran straight down the field, which took the corner away. He was already inside leverage on the guy who was playing him. It's an easy, like, if he throws that on time, we could probably catch the ball and get up the field. And I think in that situation, we caught it and got hit immediately. Like, the timing issue is something that we just, it's going to bite us, man. It's going to bite us if we're not careful. And that's the reason why I'm worried about the quarterback position, because if I can see that from watching ESPN television, I don't even have the angles. If I could ever get hold of the film where I have the end zone shots, if I have the end zone shot, I can only imagine what some of the other folks are seeing if we can see stuff like this from the TV. Let's see. Will says, no injuries. 4th game will be the next. Okay. 4th game will be the next. I think he's talking about we'll play in conference game. Okay. That's a good update on Will Henderson. Last couple here. Do you think they're going to put ELM in at any point in conference play? Probably not, unless Owen McCown is unbearably bad. But I wouldn't think so. I think that ship is sailed. They're going to stick with Owen, and it is what it is. That's kind of how they're going to go. And then does JT come back next game? I think so. That, you know what? I'm going to end on this. That I'm excited for. I think JT's going to come back against East Carolina. I do. I think him warming up and being in full pads and warm-ups is just sort of a test. They've already been hitting at him. He warmed up very well. I feel like coach is hitting at it, and I know he's chopping at the bit because I know some of these issues he's going to be able to come in and solve them just like that. You want to talk about a quarterback's best friend, somebody that you can just loft the ball up to and know that, he's probably going to come down with it. Yeah. If he comes back, that could change everything offensively, honestly, because that's a threat teams have to worry about, assuming that, and like I said, he doesn't even have to be 100% of what he was. He can be 70% of what he was. He's a threat. He's a threat. That I'm excited about. Thank you for asking that question because I think we see him. If we don't see him next week, we'll see him the week after next. He's getting ready. I think him warming up in full pads was just was just sort of a message like it's time. It's time. And it was no reason to play him in a game like that. Um but yeah, you bring him in now. It's going to do a ton for McCown and that quarterback position. And yeah, I mean, that would that would that would change things for our offense. And I know that's putting a lot on one person's shoulder. And I'm not necessarily trying to say like, he's gonna save everything or cure everything. But all you have to do is get him the ball in a couple of situations to show that, oh, he's still that dude when it comes to, you know, high pointing the ball and having sure hands and things like that. That would completely change the way defenses approach us, and that'll open up the run game. That'll give us a threat, a red zone target that we know that who has a history of pulling down, and going to get those jump balls. That would do a lot because we're bad in the red zone. We're not very good in the red zone. Um, and having that dude as sort of your security blanket would do wonders for UTSA. So I really, 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 really hope that we see him back next week. All right, guys. I am going to wrap there. Next week it's going to be on Wednesday, but it's probably going to be later, and because I'll be on California time, so that's 2 hours behind. Yeah, it's going to be tough because I'll be working. I'm probably going to have a pre-recorded thing out with you guys, and then we kind of go from there. Make sure you guys like the video. Follow me on Twitter. That's where I'll be posting updates on the next show. I'll see what the capabilities are and see if my schedule pans out. There will be a recap show similar to this next week because I'll be back. I think I'm getting back into town on Friday. So yeah. But yeah, listen, at the end of the day, we got to win. Hope the runners got some confidence going forward, and then we go from there. Peace. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday.